And welcome to the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show here on audiosportsonline.net and also on 1610 AM XRB and XRBradio.com. I'm your host, Brian Scott. I'm joined by my guest host this evening, Mr. Christopher Worley. You can hear him on the Brownsburg football broadcast along with Troy Reimer and Justin Hobbs. And we are also joined by the Brownsburg Bulldogs head football coach, Brett Comer. Coach, welcome to the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show.
Thanks for having us. Good evening.
Bulldogs get off on a very, very good start as they take care of McCutcheon by the score of 49-28. But before we get into last week's game, first time you've been on the show this season, let's talk a little bit about the offseason. You come into the game against McCutcheon. How'd you feel like your offseason went?
Well, it was an interesting offseason because we had such a turnover of players. We graduated a number of kids that had started for a couple of years, and we have some new kids that it's their turn now. So we were anxiously awaiting game one, but we certainly felt we were ready based on the work that we had done this summer.
You get into – nobody really knows what you get into week one, but as you came into that week, of course, new quarterback this year as Jacob Lambert will take over under center. But you also have a very, very talented running back, Toksak and Rabati, who came in. Tell us how your offense was looking as we went into game one.
Jacob's kind of a new quarterback, but he's an old quarterback because he was our JV starter as a sophomore, actually played in the sectional round one game against Terre Haute South and led us to victory. And then as a junior, Ian came back, was healthy, was our starting quarterback, and Jacob played outside linebacker, was an all-conference performer. So for him to come back and lead us is great. He's a great leader. Our offensive coaches were talking about this evening, that he really is our vocal leader on offense. Unfortunately, our defense is missing him a little bit because you took out a big piece of what we were last year with him playing defense, and he's done a really good job for us and stepped in and led us to victory. He made some plays Friday night that he fixed some errors. And people in the stands had no idea. They probably just thought it was an ugly play. And it's a play that Jacob, for example, pulled the ball once, gained 6 yards. The good part for us is he's 6'2", 220. So when a corner comes up to hit him, he better pack a lunch.
You went through this whole offseason. You got to kind of stare over to the side as Bill Estes Ford Field and the press box and everything kind of took shape. Tell us how the kids, as you sit there and you're going through your practices through the training camp, and look over this beautiful field that you're ready to play on.
It was difficult to walk by the place, especially when the turf kept getting closer and closer to being finished. And then finally it was done, and they released it to us, and we were on it for about a week. And then they had to do some other construction, and they kicked us back off. And it was like, wait a minute, you can't give us candy and then take it away from us. And they did, and so we did it, and we went back on the grass, and then we realized just how spoiled we are now to have that facility, and that's an awesome facility.
Let's talk just briefly about that. You're not going to change your offense and defense by going philosophies going to the turf, but now rather than being over half of your games on natural grass, now you only have Westfield and I believe Harrison are the only two in the HCC on natural turf.
McCutcheon has it as well, but we're not going to play them. This year we play Harrison at home, and homecoming we play Westfield at home, so we won't play any games on grass.
Does that change anything about the way you think about doing a game, calling a game?
I'm not going to say calling it, no. And actually I'll retract that. It kind of does because you don't have to worry about slipping. You don't have to worry about the mud, which was an advantage for us. You got to admit that for a little bit. With people coming into our place on a rainy night. Last year, Zionsville in Week 8 completed 0 footballs. 2009, Warren Central came out and started touching it. They didn't know what it was. They hadn't played on it all year. They don't practice on it. So it was an advantage to a certain degree. What the turf does for us, and you saw it on the very first run Friday night, is we get faster too. We make better cuts. And Tokes made 2 cuts on the very first play and ends up gaining 8 yards on what looked ugly, and he made it look really pretty.
Well, let's talk about last Friday night as the Bulldogs defeat the McCutcheon Mavericks by the score of 49-28. There's not a whole lot of times when you go into week one sitting there thinking, well, you've watched your preseason, you've had your scrimmage, but there's always that little bit of apprehension in week one. When 5 minutes later you're up by 3 touchdowns,
it's not a bad deal.
It's not a bad start. Why don't you give us a little tell us about those first 5 minutes?
We were certainly apprehensive, and you could say the pressure had built with that stadium and the crowd that showed up, which was just unbelievable. And you watched it go up piece by piece, and we were involved with it as a coaching staff, and I was involved in it as a coach in some decision making, which was really nice that we had a lot of input into it. But every stone they laid, it's what I told the kids, every block they laid was pressure. It's more pressure, and they expect us to win games, and that's what we were able to do. So it was a big relief off my chest and off my back when we scored that first touchdown. I'm like, okay, I can breathe. And then we scored the next one and the next one, and like, okay, I can breathe regularly now. So that it made life easier. We'll put it that way.
You said you take 2 turnovers. Of course, Toksak and Rabati, he caps off the opening kickoff with a nice 39-yard run, and then ensuing kickoff, very first play from McCutcheon, fumbled snap. You get the ball. You turn that into 7 points as Jacob Lambert hits Tyler Welch from 14 yards out. And then the very next kickoff, here's McCutcheon fumbling it. It's nice to get the turnovers, but you've got to be really, really happy that you took those turnovers and turned them into 7
points. Sure. You're right. And the first kickoff where they ended up fumbling the first snap, we had tried to sky it and get it back, and we kicked it out of bounds. They fumbled it. Luckily, they had a brand new quarterback too, and they had an exchange problem. We recovered it. And we were able to score in two or three plays. Of the ensuing kickoff, we try and sky it again, and we kick it away from people. The opening kickoff last year, the kid ran it back, 95 yards for a touchdown. We weren't going to kick it to him and let him do that to us on our field, on our opening game at our place. So we were able to recover it and then punch it in again, which that's a nice cushion, 21-0.
Chris?
Yeah, one thing I noticed, Coach, and you had to be happy, we all want to see, of course, you called him a weapon. Brandon Dowers kicked field goals, but you were able to turn almost all your possessions into touchdowns. You didn't have to rely on a field goal. Of course, he made 7 extra points, perfect on those, but you had to be happy with the offense getting in the end zone instead of getting stopped and kicking a field goal.
Well, we were very pleased. We've had some turnover in our coaching staff. Coach Josh Yoder took over as our offensive coordinator, and obviously we didn't miss a beat. Coach Pelly took the head coaching job at Western Boone and won his first game Friday night as well, which was neat to see. But ecstatic with our offense. We threw it. We only threw the ball 6 times. It's funny because the year before we threw it even less in game 1 because we just didn't have to. I don't want it to sound wrong, but we also rushed the ball for over 300 yards Friday night. So our numbers are there. You're never perfect, and that's the beauty of filming it and being able to watch it with the kids and telling our kids that film never lies, and they know that. And they get to watch it on Saturday morning and see what we made mistakes, and then we try and fix them.
Toksak and Rabati, as a freshman, he was lights out. He comes into the first game of this season as a sophomore and almost hits the 200-yard mark. Tell us about his progression from last year to this year.
He looks different, and when you look at the kid, he doesn't look like a freshman anymore. And some people would probably say he didn't look like a freshman last year, especially when he rushed it for about 900 yards. He has God-given ability, and then ability that he worked on and that he is performing at a high level because of what he does and what we go through. All of our kids are in our lifting class in athletic development with Coach Neese, and they lift every day. They have an athletic development day in the middle of the week, and then, of course, we do recovery stuff on Saturday to get him back. But he performed well. He did his job. He was a piece of our offense that performed well. Luckily, some other pieces performed well in addition to him and helped him gain those yards and score those touchdowns.
Yes, of course, Tokes had a big night, 193 yards rushing, I believe. But what we noticed up in the press box was the offensive line really blocked and cleared some holes. I thought they performed well, too.
Yeah. What we have this year are more offensive linemen back with experience than we've ever had in my 8 years as a head coach. We on the right side, Bryce Toll and Evan Mowry are returning juniors, who were the only 2 kids that started for us as sophomores last year. In our league, when you play a sophomore, you're playing a young kid. We played a freshman last year, and he was good enough to do it. Our center is Dustin Dowers. He's a junior. That was his first start as well. Our left guard, we rotated between Jake Shelley, a senior, and Kit Craig, a senior. And then our left tackle was Justin Davis. And Justin Davis was our offensive player of the week. We didn't give it to Tokes even though he went for 200. Didn't give it to Lambert. We gave it to Justin because he came out and did what he was supposed to, and he opened holes for that offense to carry on.
That's still a good win against the McCutcheon team. Ken Frauhager up there, he's really gotten this team starting to progress, and they were ranked in the top 20 in Class 5A, so pretty impressive. After you get up to 3 touchdowns and then you're up 28, you kind of had to still hold them off as they made some charges in the second half.
Actually, we were up 35-0, and that's a great thing, but it's also kind of a bad thing, especially in game 1 that early, because we definitely had some kids that kind of took a step back, and it's not as intense. And that's, we were all a kid once. It's not easy to do that and stay that active and stay that spot on when you're up 35-0. At the same time, you're still playing a game, and you still got to do your job. And we have some issues that we have to fix. Those are on film for everybody to see them, and I'm sure Noblesville studied that film quite detailed.
We'll talk about Noblesville. They are the next opponent for the Brownsburg Bulldogs. Again, game right there at Bill Estes Ford Field at Roark Stadium as the Millers come in. Might have surprised some people as they knocked off Class 6A number 8 last week, the Fishers Tigers, by the score of 27-24. But Coach Lance Scheib, he has a very, very experienced team. He brings back a 3-year starter at quarterback and a second-year starter at running back, the quarterback T.C. McKiernan and the quarterback Hayden Stinnett. And they bring 11 players back that started on offense last year, 10 of them that started on defense. Very, very experienced team.
Mm-hmm. Sure, he played a lot of young kids last year, and you got to take your lumps when you do that. And they had a very gratifying win on Friday night. I'm sure they're motivated and excited. Lance's quote in the paper was correct, and that you got to figure out how to deal with success as much as you dealt with failure. And I'm sure he's addressed that with his kids this week.
You're going to look at a team that runs a 3-5 defense. Mm-hmm. Something that they're really going to be geared up for your running attack. Something you're going to maybe see about airing the ball out a little bit more this week.
Yeah, that's the goal every week of defenses that we play. That they're going to make us throw the ball. Okay, that's what people have been doing now for about 4 years. So we'll continue to run it and we'll throw it enough to be dangerous and make some plays and take some advantages of things that we think we see.
What's some of the things that when you look at this game coming up this week that you really want to focus on taking care of the Millers?
We, from a defensive standpoint, and I coach defense every single day. We have an offensive staff, and they're kind of on the other end of the field. Our number one job is to take care of the quarterback. Kid accounted for over 400 yards on offense last week. He rushed it for around 150, threw it for 240, was 17 of 24. I got those stats in my brain. I don't have to look at them. He's 17 of 24 throwing it, and he's a 3-year starter. You said it. So he's going to be a heady guy, because he's not going to see anything that he hasn't seen before. It's our job to put him in uncomfortable situations and make him make bad decisions and take advantage of those.
When you look at this week, of course, you talk about Noblesville, an experienced quarterback, good running back in Hayden Stinnett. Offensive efficiency is going to be the key, keeping the ball, making long drives, converting them into points after coming off of McCutcheon. How do you feel coming into Noblesville?
Well, it's a different deal. Lance has a great hire in his new offensive coordinator. And he's changed the offense, and Jason Simmons is calling it, which, it's an offense that we've dealt with a little bit before when he was at Ben Davis. Different kind of kid, different kind of situation. So it's going to be a fun game. It's always fun when we play Lance. I worked for Lance for a year, so it's a reunion for him and I and his dad and a couple of those other guys that were there at the time. One of the guys coached for him played for us in that team at Lebanon in 1992. we were the Sagamore champs and we're 5-4. We thought we were terrible. It was an interesting year.
We were talking a little bit before the show. Of course, this is the last year of the Hoosier Crossroads Conference as we know it. The three Lafayette schools will no longer be a part, and now the focus is who do you pick up next year? A lot of these, of course, you open the season with McCutcheon for it seems like forever. And now you're going to have to be picking up somebody else. Who do you see picking up for next year?
It seemed like forever when Clayton Richard was throwing it around the yard. It doesn't seem like forever now, but we've already made a 2-year commitment with Pike. We're going to open up with Pike next year. With Lawrence North will be game 2, and Franklin Community will be game 3. And those are different teams than what we're starting with. They're more Indianapolis-based teams, and you do that for competitive reasons, but you also do that for your fans. I mean, you want guys to come to the game. When we play on the road, we open up at Pike next year. So we want to fill their student section. We want to fill their visitor section, play a close game, and you're there in 15 minutes. So it's appealing to the fans to travel, much more so than heading all the way to Lafayette. No offense to them, but that's kind of where that is.
You go make the jump from 5A to 6A, and really for this season, other than your sectional opponents, other than you'll get a week to where you're just jumping into the sectional semifinals rather than, and it's a lot easier to get to the championship game going through one team than two.
Wait a minute, have you seen my sectional?
When you look at that sectional,
let's not say easy here.
Let's look at that sectional really quick, because you mentioned picking up Pike. There's an intersectional opponent, and you're already, of course, you're going to be playing Avon every single year. That's going to be pretty big leading into sectionals.
When that came out, we said that we only know of one other school that has to play 2 mega schools and their rival in the same sectional. And the only other school I know of doing that's Avon.
Right.
Because they're playing 2 mega schools and a rival. So it certainly didn't get any easier just because it's a week shorter. A lot of people used to say that the most difficult tournament to win is a football sectional, because you have to be good for 3 weeks in a row. So you're right. It has lessened it a little bit in the fact that it's only 2 weeks. But I dare you to find one that's as hard as ours. So.
No, I mean, because in Class 6A, that's going to be tough.
Oh yeah.
We look at the Hoosier Crossroads Conference, as we mentioned last season, as this setup. But now you've got Fishers. They've taken a loss. It just shows you how tough your team now has won 13 regular season contests, and that's really impressive in the HCC.
Yeah, we were – it's funny because some of our coaches, especially, some of our players are still upset we lost to Avon 2 years ago in Lucas Oil Stadium.
And that would have made it 2 years full.
2 years in a row of running the table, and you don't do that. For a while, Southeastern had done it. They had won the conference 6 years in a row. Last year's the first year they hadn't gotten a piece of it. So we certainly respect the teams that we play, and we know they're good people. And it doesn't matter whether you play them on the road or whether you play them at home. You're going to be in a battle. So Friday night, regardless of our opponent, it's going to be a difficult game. I'm glad that we're at home again. I'm glad that we're going to have a big crowd. I hope the weather holds out and it's perfect just like it was Friday night and we get a big victory.
We'll talk just a moment about the weather. We've gone the last 2 years where you've spent the entire training camp dealing with 90-plus, 95. Mm-hmm. You've gone this whole year with temperatures in the 80s, sometimes in the 70s.
Yeah.
Last couple of years, kids kind of got adjusted to it, and by the time you were playing games, no big deal. Actually, might have been a little cooler.
Right.
What you're going to go through this week? I mean, everybody's going to get hydrated, but you're going to watch a little bit closer because they're just not used to it so far this year.
Yeah, we already have, actually. We got kids walking around with jugs with water and Gatorade. And it was funny. Our quarterback walked by today. He had a milk jug in one hand, and he had a Gatorade container in the other with a powder. And he's literally mixing gallons of Gatorade at school. And that's great. I'm glad he's so conscientious about it, and he's taking care of his body the way we ask him to. At the same time, practicing on turf brings up the heat, that is conditioning us. We have a mister on the sideline, for precautionary reasons, and our trainers are always there, et cetera. And we haven't had any issues with heat, and I don't anticipate that we will. The Lord put a really big cloud over the sun for us tonight. We thanked Him for that at the end of practice. We literally did. We said thank you very much, and because it changed it and made it a lot better.
Coach, you've brought a player for our College Prospects of America Athlete of the Week. Why don't you tell us a little bit about him?
The guy we brought tonight's Nathan Ramsey, second of two brothers to play for us. Nathan's a starting defensive lineman. He's a captain on our team. He was a linebacker for us last year, and we moved him down because we graduated some D linemen, and we needed some more size and strength in there. And that's exactly what he brings to us. He was our Defensive Player of the Week versus McCutcheon. This is where I am going to pull some stats out. Let's see, Nathan had 4 solos. He had 2 assists. He had a fumble recovery on a caused fumble that he caused himself. So he had a pretty big night as a defensive tackle.
All right, that is who we are going to be talking with next. Coach, appreciate you coming out for the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show. Good luck this week against Noblesville.
Thank you.
When we come back, Nathan Ramsey, we will have him on the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show. He is the College Prospects of America Athlete of the Week. We'll be back right after this. On August 24th, come celebrate the grand reopening of the McDonald's off Raceway Road in Avon. Located at 10747 East US 36, that's right in front of Meyer. There will be huge giveaways, including 100 coupons for both free Egg McMuffins and free Big Macs for a year. They will also have 49-cent ice cream cones all day long and be giving away a $1,000 scholarship. Also, don't miss Ronald McDonald himself at 1:30. So come on out on August 24th to celebrate the grand reopening of the McDonald's in front of Meyer off Raceway Road in Avon. Are you interested in playing a sport at the collegiate level? College Prospects of Central Indiana can help you achieve this dream. Right now, thousands of college coaches are searching for athletes but lack the resources to find them. This includes Division I, II, and III, as well as NAIA and junior colleges. College Prospects can help both male and female student athletes get the best education at the best price that allows them to continue participating in a sport they love. We do this through maximum exposure, providing you with essential tools, video, and unlimited personal guidance during the recruiting process. For complete details on all of our services, ask your local representatives, Bill Verhonick, Megan Eganoff, Joe Palizzi, or Rusty Dimer. You can also visit our website at www.collegeprospectsofcentralindiana.com or contact us at 317-650-4339. We also offer services for gifted students looking for the best fit in academics as well. College Prospects of America can help you achieve your dreams. Since 1984, BMO Harris Bank has grown to become one of the largest banks in the Midwest, serving personal, commercial, and affluent customers. Located locally at 610 West Northfield Drive in Brownsburg, we thank them for their sponsorship of the Hendricks County Coaches Show. Welcome back to the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show on AudioSportsOnline.net, also on 1610 AM XRB and XRBRadio.com. I want to remind you our next broadcast of the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show, or I should say our next taping, will be next Wednesday. We will be in Avon at the McDonald's over there off of Rockville Road. Make sure you come on out. I'm sure Avon head coach Mark Bless will be joining me at that time. You can also hear an audio replay of the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show every Friday night at 5:30 on 1610 AM XRB and XRBRadio.com. That'll get you all set up for Brownsburg Bulldogs football as we get ready for another week here, week 2 of the IHSAA football season. I'm joined now by our college prospects athlete of the week, Nathan Ramsey. Nathan, thanks for coming on today.
Well, thank you. It's glad to be here.
So you like getting on the defensive side of the ball and just beating people up?
Oh, yeah. That's the best part.
How long have you been playing football now?
As long as I can remember. I started tackle in 3rd grade, and I've been playing flag football since I could.
You always been on the defensive side of the ball? You like the offense? What have you been playing?
Junior year, I tried out fullback. I didn't like it because there wasn't enough hitting and contact, and that's what I love. So I love defense.
You love
defense. It's where I was supposed to be.
Now, you've been, again, you were, as Coach said, very, very instrumental part. You are one of the captains on the Bulldog football team. What do you see your role is as this season is underway?
I see my role as just leading the defense on and leading by example and doing my job as what I do best.
Nathan, now you're calling the signals as a captain too. Relayed in from the sidelines, and then what do you try and do in the huddles? You got to get your call in quick, I know, but as a captain leading them in that defensive huddle, what do you try to do?
I just try to get in quick and get them ready and make sure that they aren't tired and they're mentally ready too, so they're not getting down and missing snaps or anything like that.
Do you wear a wristband? Of course, a quarterback does. Do you wear a wristband with defensive numbers or sets on it?
No, last year we did for 1 or 2 games, but this year, no, our coach has certain hand signals, and they just reel it out to us, and it works perfectly.
Yeah, I know you had a great first game, made a lot of plays, of course, recovered a fumble.
Yep.
That was big. Mac Dutro, number 91 on that defensive line, also had a good game. Just talk about him this year so far.
He's definitely stepped up. I've known him because I knew his brother, and he's just been working in the weight room all the time and gotten big and super fast off the ball, and he's really improved.
As you go through this season, of course, working on your linebacking, is that something you want to look forward to? You go along and advance your career past high school?
Yeah, it just depends on what school and if I get offers and stuff. But if I can't play football, definitely will.
Now, have you played any other sports beside football?
Yeah, I play football and rugby. I've also wrestled and done track. And
so you basically want to just run people down and tackle them.
Yeah.
If there can be a sport that can be done, that's what you want to do.
Definitely.
How about working with strength coach Neese? We know he's an important part of the Brownsburg football program and your weight training. How'd your weight training go this summer? And what do you do with Coach Neese to get that weight training done?
It's just a lot of hard work and staying focused and not making any excuses. And my brother went to Brownsburg too, and he was pretty big, and he was my role model and my goal to beat. So I always try to get stronger than him, and that's what I've been doing.
As you go, you talk about being a captain on the defense and a captain for the team, but then a lot of the off-season stuff and a lot of the stuff, when you getting the under guys, the younger guys, make sure you get into the weight room, get to the strength coach, get your work in. You step up and make sure they are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Over the summer we have teams, and there was 8 summer captains where we draft players and we keep them in line, and all of us do our jobs to get them to workouts on time, make sure they're not late, and if they are, then they have to get a punishment, running or push-ups or things like that.
Now, you talked about drafts, so before we let you go, we're going to ask you one thing. You play fantasy football?
I've just started this year.
All right. So you're just getting into this whole thing, what this whole thing is about. Have you conducted your draft yet?
I did it last week, and I'm pretty hopeful that I'll do well for my first time, but who knows?
All right, so we got to ask you, who'd you draft first?
I was going to get Aaron Rodgers first, but I got Peyton Manning.
Oh, so you're going old school. Bring the old man in and see what he can do.
Yeah,
Nathan,
definitely.
we appreciate you joining us on the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show. Good luck this week against Noblesville.
All right, thank you.
All right, next up here on the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show, we're going to grab the athletic director of the Brownsburg Bulldogs, as Kelli Waggoner is here today, as we will bring her over as we get ready for the first broadcast here in Brownsburg at the Brownsburg McDonald's. We will be back here in 2 weeks at the Green Street location. And it is my pleasure to bring in Kelli Waggoner, the athletic director of the Brownsburg Bulldogs. Kelli, welcome to the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show.
Thanks for having me.
All right, okay. A lot of new stuff happening at Brownsburg.
Right.
We have a new field. Bill Estes Ford Field at Roark Stadium, fantastic facility. You've also renovated the varsity field house, and not to mention, well, we have a new Brownsburg athletic director. You came in basically about last spring or so, and you got to see a lot of this and be involved with it firsthand.
Correct. It was exciting. Go to the floor first, inside the field house. We had not actually refinished our floor for 13 years. Field house was built in 2000, and so needed some renovation, and we did that, and we now have a beautiful new floor. And actually, we hosted a IHSAA PSA. We did a filming on our new floor yesterday, so we're excited to have a new PSA come out for IHSAA, and that'll be out with all the fall tournament sites. So it actually be a TV commercial.
Now, what a lot of people don't realize about an athletic director, they see you scurrying around at the games, making sure officials taken care of and all that. But a big part of this is making sure that the funding for, and we will thank Bill Estes Ford for really stepping up and taking care of Bill Estes Ford Field. But that's one of the athletic director's primary duties.
It really is. I mean, where we are with an athletic department is totally self-reliant, and so they are responsible for raising the money that we spend on a year-long basis. Football helps us when we have 5 home football games. That definitely is the year you like, because it's either 5 or 4. And so I came into the 5 home game season, so I'm happy with that. It really is. We've had some great sponsors, as well as McDonald's here where we are tonight, to help us pay for those expenses. We also had Ted Roark and his family of CF Roark, and that's what our stadium's been named for the last 40 years, I think, something like that. And so we were happy to have Mr. and Mrs. Roark there last week. And then one of our new partners in IU Health. And IU Health is our new athletic training partner, and they are the athletic complex. And so excited to have them. I couldn't name them all, the ones that we have. So many of them here in Brownsburg, as well as some national companies, but I'm very thankful for those. And then we have our Bulldog backers, who are maybe alumni or parents of student athletes, and so they also contribute to our bottom line.
So let's let the fans know and people listening in, who is Kelli Waggoner? She came in last spring, and is this your first job as an athletic director?
It is. Just a little bit of background. I grew up in Brownsburg, played athletics at Brownsburg High School, met my husband here, and got married almost 29 years ago. We have 2 sons that also went to Brownsburg and graduated. Kyle graduated in 2007 and went on to play baseball at Butler University, and our youngest son played football and rugby. And he's at IU as a senior. Just started this week classes. So
see, now that you tell me that, I used to call Butler University baseball.
Okay.
And I remember Kyle now from when I was broadcasting then. So great to see that he was with Coach Worley and the Bulldogs.
Absolutely. So for the last 23 years, I've owned my own small business and in governmental affairs and consulting. And I really was at that point where I was ready to do something different. And talked to my husband and said, it's time to either go home, and I was never going to retire, but to do something different. And this came up, and I coached girls basketball for the last 6 years with Amy Brahman here in town, and so I was a varsity assistant and, on a daily basis involved in the athletic department, and love Brownsburg, the way, former ADs have, because they've grown up here as well. And so was lucky enough to get the job and have been working since March 12th. So.
You get a little bit of a fortunate because the former athletic director, Greg Hill, he retired. But you were fortunate enough, I guess, to get a little bit of transition. There's not a lot of times that athletic directors, you're usually somebody retired and then they're scrambling or whatever, but you got a little bit of transition.
I did. Greg and I worked together from March until May, and he was a great resource, still is a resource, has moved out of Brownsburg recently, but for the most part, he gave me a lot of good advice, and so I appreciate that. And then we've also had staff retire, so we are actually in a brand new athletic department. No one in the athletic department at this time worked there 3 months ago.
Oh, wow.
So it's a big transition.
So this is going to be a big learning experience for everybody.
It is.
We talk about a lot of the sponsorships and all that, but of course you also have a whole lot of other athletic events going on right now. Let's talk about some non-football related. Of course, you've got volleyball and everybody else going on. Why don't you tell us what's going on at Brownsburg?
Sure. I just came from girls soccer. We have a girls soccer match tonight at home against Noblesville. And new coach there, and Coach Megan Osborne, who had spent several years as an assistant coach with Phil Slavens, who recently retired last year. So really excited to have Megan. And then also Julie Waggoner is the assistant coach there. And so our Lady Bulldogs we started a little bit slow, but I think it's more of a transition year for them too. They've got a lot of freshmen. And their entire JV team, except for one, are freshmen. And so we got a little bit of a process there. We're in transition. Our boys team, very strong, and with Coach Todd Frost, and probably one of the best boys players in Central Indiana in Jack Griffin. So he's going to help us. He's going to graduate at midterm and go to IU, and he's got a scholarship to play at IU. So really exciting team to watch. And then volleyball, as you mentioned, played last night, beat Plainfield. So we're in full swing. Bob Yeager, our coach there, is experienced, been there almost 14 years, I think. So excited to have him. And then we've got golf with our girls golf team. And Karen Starkey is our boys tennis coach. Expect great things out of our tennis program this year. We've got, I think, 7 seniors on our tennis team, and really expect some things to happen there. And then cross country. We don't have a cross country track in Brownsburg, and so we don't have any home meets, but we have a very young boys team and a young girls team. So both Coach Brett Nealon and Coach Craig Beckner are working hard with our cross country. So that would be our stable of sports for the fall season.
Kelly, we don't want to forget boys tennis. I think they're 3-0, off to a great start.
Right, that's what I said. We have 7 seniors, I think, and so we're excited to have Coach Starkey. She coaches, of course, the boys and the girls, and really have had a really good start to their season.
Good. And I know, you have to balance all these different sports. How do you do it as far as trying to get out and see, all the teams and all the sports you do? I know we saw you, like Brian said, scurrying last Friday night. I guess I want to ask you about that, too. How'd your opener go Friday night?
I think it went great. I mean, we got great staff, and really we have I'm only as good as my head coaching staff, and the head coaches that we have pitch in for each other, and that's been the exciting thing, I think, in this transition with me as a new AD, is that we have head coaches staff meetings every other month. I think at one point some people didn't know who this coach was and who that coach was, so we've had a lot more communication. Our boys coaches are working together, our girls coaches are working together to encourage multi-sport athletes, which I think is very important at this level. It's high school, and do everything you possibly can because you might not ever get to do it again, and so we have coaches that are very, very supportive of each other. But Friday night, you can always find something that you might want to tweak a bit, but again, our staff was great. The community came out and supported us. I mean, the kids were phenomenal. We've never had this big of a student section, and they came out. They were dressed up in their togas and very well behaved. I don't know, many people didn't stay for after the game, but we had kids picking up trash in the stands.
Wow.
I mean, that's our student body, and we're proud of them.
And I thought the celebration on the field afterwards with the students and the players, that was really special. You know, that first game on that field and that facility, I thought they did wonderful.
Yeah, that's one of Coach Comer's kind of trademarks that he said when he was at Brownsburg playing, he didn't have pictures of his parents after the games with him on the field, and that was something that if they win, and lucky enough the last 2 years, we were 9-1 2 years ago and 10-0, our kids get to spend a lot of time with their parents on the field afterwards. And so the tradition now is that they sing the fight song to the stands, and then they come over, and Coach Comer allows the students to come in and surround everybody, and then he talks to them. So it's a neat tradition, great when you're winning, because everybody gets to participate in that post-game little rally from Coach Comer.
When you get into this season and you're talking about the athletic, you know, you start looking over your finance and you look at your budget. Of course, a lot of people are looking at Bill Estes Ford Field, very nice facility. Where do you see that as far as how is that helping you? I mean, last season we had the drought, and of course, Brownsburg High School was working with a lot of water early in the season, and then you had a lot of mud and all in the second part of the season. How do you see this field helping out the athletic department?
Well, what we've said is it's not just the athletic departments. It's the biggest classroom that we have in the Brownsburg School Corporation. Today, and already this week, all day we've had PE that goes out there on the field. We've had adaptive PE, so we've got kids that might have disabilities and wheelchairs and that kind of thing have the opportunity to go out there and spend time on the field. We have band on a daily basis out there doing something, be it guard or whatever it might be. So, you know, it is a football field. It does have soccer lines on it, and our soccer teams plan to practice there because some of the games that they play in our conference are on turf, and also the state championship is on turf. So that's really important. But for the most part, it's a classroom, and we are using it as a classroom. We're encouraging kids. You know, it's neat because kids that would never have the opportunity to go out there on that field can say every day I get to play on the turf field. And so it's giving all kids at the high school an opportunity to be a part of the turf field.
That is fantastic.
Yep.
Been speaking with Kelli Waggoner. She is the athletic director at Brownsburg High School. Kelli, we want to thank you for coming on the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show, and good luck this year.
All right, my pleasure. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, Kelli. When we come back, Chris Worley and I, well, we're going to talk a little bit of football as we get ready for the week 2 of the IHSA football season. This is the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show on 1610 AM XRB and AudioSportsOnline.net. On August 24th, come celebrate the grand reopening of the McDonald's off Raceway Road in Avon. Located at 10747 East US 36, that's right in front of Meyer. There will be huge giveaways, including 100 coupons for both free Egg McMuffins and free Big Macs for a year. They will also have 49-cent ice cream cones all day long and be giving away a $1,000 scholarship. Also, don't miss Ronald McDonald himself at 1:30. So come on out on August 24th to celebrate the grand reopening of the McDonald's in front of Meyer off Raceway Road in Avon. Are you interested in playing a sport at the collegiate level? College Prospects of Central Indiana can help you achieve this dream. Right now, thousands of college coaches are searching for athletes but lack the resources to find them. This includes Division I, II, and III, as well as NAIA and junior colleges. College Prospects can help both male and female student athletes get the best education at the best price that allows them to continue participating in a sport they love. We do this through maximum exposure, providing you with essential tools, video, and unlimited personal guidance during the recruiting process. For complete details on all of our services, ask your local representatives, Bill Verhonick, Megan Eganoff, Joe Palizzi, or Rusty Dimer. You can also visit our website at www.collegeprospectsofcentralindiana.com or contact us at 317-650-4339. We also offer services for gifted students looking for the best fit in academics as well. College Prospects of America can help you achieve your dreams. Since 1984, BMO Harris Bank has grown to become one of the largest banks in the Midwest, serving personal, commercial, and affluent customers. Located locally at 610 West Northfield Drive in Brownsburg, we thank them for their sponsorship of the Hendricks County Coaches Show. Welcome back to the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show. We are at the Brownsburg McDonald's at Main Street, along with my guest host this evening, Mr. Christopher Worley. You can hear him along with Troy Weimer and Justin Hobbs, as they will have the call of this week's contest between the Brownsburg Bulldogs and the Noblesville Millers. And Chris, let's talk a little bit of football for Week 2 coming into the this season. We've talked to Coach Comer a little bit about Noblesville, and again, Noblesville, a big win against Fishers. Some people might not have seen it coming. Some people may have. Again, we mentioned Noblesville, very experienced team, but they'll have to come here and play at Bill Estes Ford Field at Roark Stadium, and I kind of have a feeling the Bulldogs will probably prevail in that game.
I would have to give them, put them in the favorites role, we'll say. But, of course, Noblesville now have some confidence. Coach Lance Scheib, of course, Coach Comer knows him. I did see where he got the first high school coach of the week this week after that big win against Fishers, and he called it one of his biggest wins ever, certainly at Noblesville. So I know they'll be fired up. And also I think this week you'll see, from McCutcheon, it's a little bit difficult with the distance to bring a crowd, but we know Noblesville will bring some of their students and family this week. I expect a bigger than normal crowd on the opposing sideline.
You take a look at this series, and over the last 15 years, this one actually, we talk about Brownsburg having won their last 13 regular season contests, and as Coach Comer mentioned, it was a night at Lucas Oil Stadium that a lot of people thought Brownsburg kind of let a chance slip by. They could have been on a 2-year winning streak in the conference. But Noblesville, they've been steadily getting better and better, and look for them to make a tough matchup against the Bulldogs. The last 15 years, Bulldogs with a 9-6 record, and that includes a 35-7 victory over the Millers last season. Our other game of note here in Hendricks County would be the Avon Orioles taking on the Westfield Shamrocks. Avon last week went to Hamilton Southeastern, and the score in that game was a 28-7 win for the Royals. But as Coach Dave Shelbourne and myself were calling that game, Avon moved the ball almost at will. They moved the ball up and down the field. What they could not do is turn that offense into points. They were led by sophomore quarterback Brandon Peters, and if you get a chance to see this young man, you'll see why he's starting as a sophomore. He's a big kid, very athletic, very strong, has some great elusiveness about him, and he can throw the ball. He was regularly throwing the ball at times 45 yards in the air, trying to get a receiver that could actually catch up to it. He had a couple of long balls that fell just a little bit too long for his receivers. I think the Orioles still looking maybe for some consistency at running back. They started the game with Tywan Johnson. Of course, they're the Orioles starting running back David Tennant. He's going to be out until week 5 due to a suspension. But David Shaw came in the second half of that game, ran the ball very, very well. Hamilton Southeastern is just going to be one of those really, really tough teams this year. Scott May has a senior quarterback in Tyler Janney that was very good in that contest. And Demetrius Crockham, who the Orioles lost last year due to a devastating knee injury, he looked back. He played very well at middle linebacker and also at running back. This is going to be a matchup after the Millers that the first road game for Brownsburg is going to be at Hamilton Southeastern, and that's going to be a major test.
Yes, no doubt about it. And just to look at that Avon game again at Westfield, in this conference with the strength of these teams, you certainly don't want to drop to 0-2. So there's going to be plenty of motivation. Yeah, I know they only scored 7 points, but I wonder what their practice was like this week. I imagine it was pretty intense getting ready for this big game. But you certainly don't want to start 0-2, and I know they'll give everything they can to not let that happen.
Of course, Coach Mark Bless, that's going to be one of his keys this week is cap off drives with points. It was what they couldn't do last week. They had several 10, 12-play drives that chewed up 5-6 minutes a clock. It just didn't end in points, and that is something Coach Bless is really going to have to emphasize this week. We got to finish it off. They move the ball at will, but they're going to go against a Westfield team that defeated Harrison 42-13 as Coach Jake Gilbert in his third year at the helm of the Shamrocks. Westfield's just one of those teams, when you look at the Hoosier Crossroads Conference, they could be, some might consider middling of the pack, maybe in the lower end, but nobody wants to play them.
Right. And putting up 42 points, that puts a little scare into anybody, So I haven't seen them, of course, but that's going to be a tough challenge. But like I said, I know Avon does not want to start 0-2. I'm going to rate them on the road there, just a slight favorite in that game. What else you got in conference action?
Well, in Hoosier Crossroads Conference, let's go back down what happened last Friday. Of course, the Bulldogs defeated the McCutcheon Mavericks 49-28, and we just mentioned Avon falling to Hamilton Southeastern 28-7. The Millers defeated Fishers 27-24. Westfield defeated Harrison 42-13, and up in Zionsville, they defeated Lafayette Jeff by the score of 14-7. This is Larry McWhorter's final year at the helm of Zionsville. He is going to move on next year as he begins a brand new football program at Covenant Christian. So the Eagles are going to be very, very motivated this season for Coach Larry McWhorter. We look at other action in Hendricks County. The Plainfield Quakers, they opened up at Columbus North. Started off strong, had to withstand a bit of a rally, but they win their season opener by the score of 34-32. Coach Brian Woodard, 2 years ago, that team won their first 2 games and then didn't win another game. Strangely as it may seem, Coach Woodard, the past 2 years, they've played powerhouse Kokomo in 5A and beat them both times. Wow. They don't have Kokomo on the record this year, but they go to a 6A school and they knock off Columbus North 34-32. They're going to be playing the Danville Warriors, and Coach Russ Sumner, in his third year at the helm of the Warriors, they played New Palestine, and I think a lot of us were expecting that to be an up and down, high scoring track meet. Of course, if you've never seen Danville play, they pretty much run a setup where they don't punt a whole lot. They go for it on fourth down, a lot of 2-point conversions. But unfortunately for the Warriors, they ran into a Dragons team that was running basically a no-huddle up-tempo. It was the Dragons winning 64-8.
Wow.
So now we'll have the Quakers and the Warriors. It'll be the Quakers' home opener. Plainfield over the last 15 years, well, Danville's going to have a lot of work to do. They haven't beaten the Warriors in 8 tries.
Sure. Now, I wondered where that game was at because Danville has installed a new field turf this year. So, but this game is at Plainfield.
This game is at Plainfield. Plainfield actually moving into the top 20 in the Class 4A rankings. They are ranked number 17th. So the Quakers looking to move up. They will be, again, playing Danville. Last year, these two teams met, and it was Plainfield eking out a 29-26 victory against the Warriors. So that should be, we'll see if Coach Sumner can get those guys rallied back up and get going. It was looking across the Mid-State Conference as far as Plainfield fans are concerned. Last Friday, Franklin defeated Seymour 59-13. Franklin Central 58. Decatur Central 50. That was a game you can watch a replay or listen to a replay on audiosportsonline.net. That was a shootout by a mile. Lebanon defeated Mooresville 22-0. Martinsville 48. Guerin Catholic 13. Perry Meridian defeated Greenwood 42-19. And Whiteland defeated South Bend Riley 47-32. As we mentioned, Danville in the Sagamore Conference, their conference teammate, or I should say schoolmate, Tri-West, boy, they fell on a hard one by losing to West Lafayette by the score of 26-15. That was a game Tri-West came in Class 3A, I believe, ranked number 3. And that was a game that last year West Lafayette managed to win 9-7. Tri-West looking to get a good start on this year, but Chris Cole's team, they fell against a West Lafayette team that also went to an up-tempo offense, and the Bruins had a little bit of problems adjusting to it.
Well, Tri-West has built quite a program there, and they're used to success, so that Week 1 loss, a bit of a surprise and did hurt them, but they're continuing to have a good program.
Chris Cole, it was very impressive to see Tri-West last year make the jump from 2A to 3A, have a very, very successful season. At one time, I think they ran off 6 straight wins, and they were down to the final game of the season to decide the Sagamore Conference. The Bruins will take on South Putnam, the Eagles, at home, as it'll be the, again, Tri-West back-to-back home games to start the season. Over the last 15 years, Tri-West with an 11-4 record against the Eagles, including a 14-13 victory last season. And then our final Hendricks County game that we'll take a quick look at are the Cascade Cadets. And the Cadets under head coach Jason Thompson in his second year, they went 4-7 last year. It hasn't been a lot of success for Cascade over the last 6-7 years. But they go off and they win their opener as they knocked off Crawfordsville 38-32. And that's got to be a big, big pick-me-up for that program.
Sure does. I think those kids deserve that. They're working hard during the summer, during their weight program, and doing everything to improve their football program, along with the rest of the Hendricks County schools. And I know they were happy with that first win. That was a big one for them. Get off to a good start.
Well, let's take a look at again the schools in action this week here in Hendricks County. Of course, as we mentioned, the Bulldogs will be taking on the Noblesville Millers. That game you can listen to right here on 1610 AM XRB and XRBradio.com. You can also watch that game thanks to our good friends at AudioSportsOnline.net. Troy Weimer, Christopher Worley, and Justin Hobbs. They'll have the call for that game. I will be at Avon as the Orioles will host the Westfield Shamrocks. I will be joined by the Indiana Football Hall of Famer Dave Shelburne. Pre-game for that show will be that game will be at 6:45 with a kickoff set for 7 o'clock. Also on XRBRadio.com, you can watch the Plainfield Quakers as they take on the Danville Warriors, and that's always been a good Hendricks County rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
That'll be the Quakers' home opener. You'll catch that on XRBRadio.com, also AudioSportsOnline.net. And then, of course, Tri-West will take on South Putnam, and it will be Cascade rounding out the night as the Cadets will be taking on the Monrovia Bulldogs. So we are into high school football fast and furious. What's some of your thoughts as we go into week 2?
Well, Brian, about the broadcast, our fans also want to remember, I know you know this, and you may have said it before, but if you can't listen or watch the simulcast on Friday nights, all those games are usually archived on Audio Sports Online or XRB. So if you need to go back and catch up on the game Saturday or Sunday of that weekend, you can do that too.
Of course, all of our video broadcasts on AudioSportsOnline.net are also available via our YouTube channel. Go to YouTube, search for Audio Sports Online. That way, if you want to send an email and a link to friends and family, no matter where they may be, maybe you want to post something on your Facebook, it's all right there. www.youtube.com. Search for AudioSportsOnline.net. Also, as Christopher mentioned, you can catch a replay at the AudioSportsOnline.net website. Just click on the link for your game. You can also watch a replay of the McDonald's Hendricks County Sports Show. We usually have those up on Thursday where you can watch the show, this evening's show, and then you can hear an audio replay 5:30s on Friday nights on 1610 AM XRB and XRBradio.com. That is right before Brownsburg Bulldog football. So, and a great week coming up for football here in Central Indiana. And I know you'll be very excited to watch the Bulldogs and the Millers.
Sure, that is going to be a big game. Sure like to see Brownsburg open up 2-0, but it's going to be a challenge. The defense did let up some points last week. Noblesville was able to score, and they've got an active offense. So I'm kind of looking for the Brownsburg defense to really be tested this week. We'll see what happens. It'll be interesting.
All right, that's going to do it for us here from the McDonald's on Main Street in Brownsburg. Want to thank our guests this evening, Brownsburg head football coach Brett Comer, a Brownsburg linebacker Nathan Ramsey, Brownsburg athletic director Kelli Waggoner, and a very, very special thanks to my guest host this evening, Christopher Worley. That's all for now from McDonald's here on Main Street in Brownsburg. Next week, we will be at the McDonald's in Avon off of Rockville Road. Head coach Mark Bless, I'm sure, will be joining me next week, and we'll try to get a few others. Until next time, this is Brian Scott saying so long, everybody.